Games come and go, especially live service ones. Quality ones, however, seem to stick around. Now, the upcoming Star Rupture could be, well, it could go either way. One thing's for certain, it does have a rather fantastical looking fictional world. This is something quite original, and it's really intriguing me, to be perfectly honest. The theme, the idea, is a planet in orbit around a star named Raptura. What's unusual about this particular star is the phases it goes through. Every so often it flares up, as you can see here, and sends out some pretty intense heat waves to the nearby planets, and that more or less destroys absolutely everything. Now, in reality, that would be a game over, that would be the end. However, this particular planet, things are different. It has a very quick and very rapid rebirth cycle. And that means as soon as things are destroyed, they regrow next minute. And yes, that includes some of the utilities and the hardware that's on the planet as well. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this is a setup for a really intriguing game world. Now, the game is being developed by Creepy Jar, the studio behind Green Hell, a survival game that is pretty highly acclaimed and opted for realism over many other gamified aspects. Star Rupture, on the other hand, takes things in a very different direction. Currently, there's no release date for this game, however, the developers are releasing regular information and updates to, well, keep us informed about things as they progress. So the game is set on the planet that's influenced by the Star Rupture, as we've already mentioned, and this causes extreme environmental conditions, something that is obviously going to be very central to the gameplay. The planet's ecosystem has adapted to these harsh conditions created by Raptura's waves of fire, and maybe there's some other elements going on there. After all, in the teaser trailer, we see the star also turning blue. Now, maybe that means nothing, but it could mean everything. I guess we'll have to wait and see. In terms of gameplay mechanics, survival and exploration really seem to be the central focus towards much of what is going on here. But also, the developers have spent a lot of time in developing the world and the environment itself. We're going to talk a little bit about the world first, because this is the part that interests me certainly more than the gameplay initially, at least. So, we know about the whole death and destruction, rebirth and all the rest of it when it comes to this planet. The world themselves are inspired somewhat by those in Iceland. The development team took a journey there to have a look at some really raw and beautiful areas. I think the goal here is to make the game world somewhat primal. Now, the forces going on within the world have given rise to titanium, a crucial resource that is shaped from basalt rocks. It exists here in abundance due to the nature of the environment. It's one of the main resources that you're going to have to go out there and collect. Now, flora and fauna, despite the harsh conditions, the planet is full of life, with flora and fauna that has adapted to survive. Now, to some extent here I can understand how the flora has learned to survive. After all, grass on our own world is pretty harsh. It can survive flooding, it can survive wildfires, it always comes back pretty much no matter what. Fauna, on the other hand, I would be very intrigued and very interested to find out how that has adapted to recover from, these pretty harsh fires. Now, there's obviously hostile creatures dotted around the environment. Most creatures are hostile, in fact, so we're told, and they're not going to welcome players warmly. But there are some cute creatures out there as well. We should be cautious about those, I do believe, but yeah, there should be some cute creatures out there as well. Now, the human impact upon the world. The humans have been here to try and mine the planet and settle the planet in the past, but due to the nature of the planet, the previous attempts have not been successful, and that means there's a load of bases left behind, and these are full of interesting findings and resources that players will be able to collect. There's also what's known as forgotten engines, enormous structures that are key to exploration. These are key exploration targets, rather, and they also hold valuable secrets that players are going to want to go out there and find. Survival, of course, it's being a survival game, is a key element of the game. However, the regular cataclysms is something that players are going to really need to learn to adapt to, and the planet itself poses threats from both the land as well as the sky, as well as the central star itself, and this requires special habitats for survival. So this really gives another layer to the traditional base building that we see in a lot of other survival games. Whilst those do have reasons for existing, I think it's doubly important when it comes to Star Rupture. So yes, base building or construction of bases and maintaining the base is essential for survival as well as progression throughout the game. Here, players can design their bases and focus on functionality and personal preferences as well. There's a lot of interesting designs here. I think a lot of potential for players to really go to town and really do something quite unique with these. It's something quite different to what we've seen in many other survival games out there. Now, the building tool is inspired by ISS, NASA research on the 3D printing system, and this allows for quick constructions of various structures. At least that is the claim that the developers are making. Personally, I don't really see how it's much different to regular survival games out there. It don't seem to be that much different to me, at least not in terms of its overall impact. Just perhaps the visual element here is somewhat different. Now, players can create automated production systems and advanced equipment as well as they progress, but again, that I don't think is too different to what we see in some other survival games out there. Now, resource management, of course, is going to be very important, and players must establish mining and production networks to extract and process resources, and these are going to be scattered all over the place, depending on what sort of resources that players actually want. Yes, bases do require power, and this is managed through a network of conductive elements. Now, what seems to be interesting here is that the conductive elements, other than don't tend to just use wires that we see in other games here. Instead, what it seems to be is that pathways and roads act as conduits as well to allow for the transmission of electricity and energy. Autonomous drones also handle the transportation of resources within the base, so yeah, there's that as well. The game will have both multiplayer modes as well as single player modes. So that's what we know so far about Star Rupture. The developers are going to release more information as we move along towards release. Now, what's intriguing to me here, as I said right at the start of the video, is not the gameplay. After all, we've seen a whole truckload of survival games over the years, and it's kind of got to the point where one is much like the other. But Creepy Jar have already got precedent here for creating a survival game that does stand out, and Green Hell, their previous game, really does stand out amongst other survival titles. With Star Rupture, they've gone in again in a different direction, as I said, and I think it's not so much going to be, at least for me, the gameplay that makes this particular title stand out, but rather the game world, the environment in which it's set, the whole destruction and rebirth aspect, and that in turn should have some rather interesting impacts upon the gameplay. So let's see how this one goes. I'm interested to see more information on this. If you are as well, do let me know, because we can make some more videos in the future. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. Do check out the links on the screen right here if you want to watch another video. As always, thanks for watching. Take care. I'll catch you next time.